Okay, so the last session, I guess we have just made some self-introduction, had some general discussion, right? Okay. So I thought from this class we can begin our theory sessions. So let me introduce what we are going to cover in this course in a very short way, and then let's move on to the first topic in the course. Okay. So there are 5 units. So every unit deals about a certain concepts, and together you'll be able to learn many things. So in the unit 1, we'll be covering about something about computational thinking and problem solving. So often we think that computer science often deals with programs, languages, etc. But these are merely a tools. That's it. So using these tools, what we are going to do, that's what computer science is entirely about. When we hear computer science, you often think that programming languages, software, hardware. Right? But what is underlying this thing? What is actually driving all these things? That's what builds this particular domain. Okay, so the first unit completely dedicates itself to help you understand that stuff. Okay, what is meant by computational thinking? What is computational problem means? Okay, how you can formulate a problem. In order to solve a problem, what do you need? All those things you'll be learning in the first unit. Okay, so by first unit, you will know a way to describe a problem. Okay, or describe a task. Okay, clearly. Got it? Describe a task clearly so that whoever is listening to you, they will be able to do it very properly. Got it? Yes or no? ஒரு ப்ராப்ளம் ஒரு டாஸ்க் டிஸ்கிரைப் பண்றதுக்கு எதுக்கு நம்ம கத்துக்கணும்? அது தேவையா? First of all, is it required? So start interact with me, otherwise you'll go to heaven. Whatever it is. Post and write. Yes or no? Talk with me, otherwise. Okay. So you are going to instruct your friend. You want to tell your friend how to drive a car. Okay. He doesn't know how to drive a car. What do you think? You take other thing. Ask your friend to do some nice reality. Okay. Okay. Ask your friend to do the next video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's say he doesn't know how to do English. So your instruction has to be clear. What to do and when to do. Everything matters. So describing that itself plays a very important role now to get a solution. So why people are selling ask one thing. Cookbook இருக்கு இல்லையா? Cookbook ஒரு புக்கா போடணும்னு ஏன் தோணுச்சு ஒரு செஃப்க்கு? சமையல் செய்யறது எப்படின்னு ஒரு புக்கு போடணும்னு ஏன் செஃப்க்கு தோணுச்சு? எப்படி செய்யணும்ன்றது நம்ம கிளியரா சொல்றோம் அப்படின்னா ஒண்ணுமே தெரியாத ஒரு ஆள் கூட ஈஸியா குக் பண்ணிடலாம் இல்லையா? See, when it comes to the computer also, if you are if you are making the computer to perform a task, then how to do the task also has to be defined clearly. And how to understand things about the task also, the computer should be able to understand. In such a way, we have to define the problem. Okay. And you should define how to solve the problem. All those things we'll see in the unit 1. Okay. In what forms we will describe the process, everything we'll see. Okay. Second unit starts by introducing you to the language. Till the second unit, we won't be entering into the language. The entire first unit will revolve around the problem. Okay, your way of thinking or way of presenting the problems, solutions, etc. From starting from the second unit only, we'll go with understanding the basic blocks for a language. Okay, it starts by presenting you about what is data type, how to construct expression, how to construct statement. All those things will be elaborately you will see. Okay, unit by unit we'll see. And third unit will describe about how to control the flow of execution in a program. Okay, let's take a sequence of steps are there to perform a task. how to control the sequence. Whether every action in a sequence has to be done only once, or certain steps has to be done twice or thrice, or certain steps needs to be ignored. All those things we have to decide in order to provide a solution, right? So that control flow and how to compartmentalize your solution, that also we will see. And one major and most used data type, which is strings, that also we will see in third unit. In fourth unit, we'll be discussing much about compound data types. Okay, these compound data types are used to store lot many kinds of data, like multidimensional data, mostly multidimensional data, vectors of data. So how to store those multidimensional data? So the multidimensional data, எல்லாமே store பண்றதுக்கு we use this list, tuple and dictionaries. So we use these kinds of data types. Okay. And finally, there is something called files, modules and packages. So these files, modules and packages are used to store the data in a persistent manner. Okay, permanently store something, or to reuse functionality. So we learn these sort of concepts. Okay, so the 5 units, 4 units will dedicatedly will learn about programming language, and 1 unit is about problem formulation and what are the requirements that you should know in order to solve a particular problem, how you can represent a problem, and the way to solve the problem. All those things we'll learn in the first unit. Okay. First thing, we'll start with the fundamentals of computing. Okay, we'll start the first unit. The first one is fundamentals of computing. Okay. So in general, what do you mean by computing? Yeah. So from your point of view, what is computing? What computer is fundamentally doing? Basically, what it is doing? Yes. Louder. Making. Sorry, it's not audible. Exactly, making our work easier. Okay, thank you. But internally, what it is doing? Basically, you see, it performs a calculation. That's it. Okay, it's calculating. But what sort of calculation that really matters? That is really matters. What sort of calculation you are seeing? What sort of calculation program you are using in your computer? Yes. Okay, what are the purpose you are using in your computer nowadays? When computer was first introduced, they were used for numerical calculations, scientific calculations. Later, the computer started to evolve. People used to connect one university with the other university, so that the researchers, educationists, they can share their ideas, etc. And so the internet started to revolutionize what happened. So many things came, right? As well, multimedia communications, voice over IP, video conferencing, etc. Everything is now happening. All those things that we can see or play nice, it's different, right? But fundamentally, all these things are actually narrowing down to some fundamental operations, this calculation. Literally, all these things are being seen as a calculation, right? So, in computational domain, we have to see what computing means. What is the role it takes? Okay, that's what it drives. The language, programs, all these are just merely tools. Okay, so for performing this calculation, what do we need? Yes, for performing the calculation, values. Yeah, those are all the data, raw materials. But what will do the calculation? You have calculator, right? So the calculator does everything, right? So we'll see what are the things that are essential for computing. So from everyone's point of view, you have a different view about computation, right? For someone, it will be like some automated trains. For someone, it's like generating a design patterns, etc. Right? So everyone will adapt their ideas. Okay, everyone they will adapt their ideas, their creative ideas, and they will narrow down into some programming instructions. I have a different idea. I have a idea to generate graphical images through computers. Yes, sir. I have an idea to create moving pictures through computers. So all these ideas, they are being converged to some form, right? To some form of computation, right? So from everyone's point of view, often that are different, programmers often what they will do now, they will try to understand the ideas and then they will try to convert it into the meaningful programs in particular languages. So all we can see is that computation is just merely an activity that involves computer technology. Here, in this context, in this domain of computers, we see computing as an activity that involves somehow computer technology to manage, process, and communicate informations. Okay, to manage, process, and communicate information. So, which technology you use to manage information? Yes, your own information. Which technology you use nowadays to store, to see, to delete, to update your informations about your personal informations, personal photographs, personal documentations, everything. What are the mediums, digital mediums you use? Mobile phones, primarily mobile phones. Yes. The micro level you see, cloud, Google Drives, Dropbox, so and so, right? And the processing, that's where cloud comes. So nowadays you don't process everything in your end, right? So many of the heavy duty things are done by cloud. So you just take the data, give it to the cloud will do the processing and give it back. And communicate information. So how do you communicate information nowadays? Some 10 years back and all, there's a technology called infrared. I've heard about at the evolution of mobile phones. There's something called as infrared. Very good. ஒரு மொபைல் எடுத்து இன்னொரு மொபைல் இன்னொரு போட்டோ டிரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ணலாம் ஸ்பீட் பண்ணி இருக்கும் நான் ஓகே கொடுக்கிறேன் பட் வேற ஒரு மல்டிபிள் டேட்டா பண்ணா ஷேர் ரைட் how do we students come right this is good it is fast now okay so some 10-15 years back there's something called infrared. We want to share small picture of the little phone right now hold on and the phone into the icon the phone and the little phone is Facebook இப்படி வெச்சால உள்வாங்க வெச்சால டிரான்ஸ்லேட் ஆகும் because the range is different okay the range is very good later Bluetooth enabled phone Bluetooth enabled phone ஒரு காஸ்ட்லியா இருந்தது okay அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து Wi-Fi Bluetooth வேற ஒரு version இல்லையா so these computer enabled technologies they help us to share informations okay so all these things fundamentally will called as computing okay so this computing it uses two things one is hardware other one is software okay so all the computer components that we touch and feel we call as the hardware and how about software we can't touch and feel right but we can sense it so these softwares are just programs or instructions they will control the hardware yes sir so the software will control the hardware so this entire thing will called as a computer basically a computer in many different contexts they'll call it in many different names mainframe workstations so and so okay. But fundamentally we'll call these setup as a computer what this computer can do generally yes computation okay what does computation involves Yes, just now we saw, right? Managing information, processing information, and communicating information. That's what computing involves. Okay. So this computer, as we all know, is an electronic device, can manipulate information or data. It has ability to store data, retrieve data, so and so, process data. Okay. So this computer is controlled through a programming language, right? That tells a computer through a program what it has to do and what it should not do, etc. Right? So it also includes various devices, right? Like central processing unit, monitors, keyboard and mouse. So we'll go just fast, okay? So this lecture is somewhat aimed at the non-computer science student also. Sometimes we need some basic idea about all those things, right? So in history of computers, right? So computer historian, they see the computer evolution in terms of generations. Okay, over a period, which technology pioneered and made the computers more famous. So based on that, they just put all those things into different generations. Okay. So when did this fascination for computers started? Do you know anything like that? When did people talk about machines? When did people talk about creating a machine that can do the human work? Any idea? Yes. Any idea? சரி, நான் ஒரு வேலை செய்யறேன். என்ன மாதிரி ஒரு விஷயம் எனக்கு உருவாக்கணும் எனக்கு ஆரம்பிச்சது எவ்வளவு வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி இருந்துச்சு. 40 years, 3 years, 80, sorry, 1850s. Started around 1850s. Good. Nice. Any opinions? Because saying to your friend, you can just boldly answer like. Any idea? Centuries back. What century? 2 century. And what's your name? Well, that's it. That's it. 1850s. Russian. There are traces in history. You see, thousands of years back itself, this fascination towards these machines. Okay, now we call artificial intelligence. Thousands of years back itself, people had the ways of creating and developing machines. Okay, that machines having the characteristics, traits of a human being. So thousands of years of back itself, see. There's something called this mechanical Turk. Just Google and see. Mechanical Turk. So that mechanical Turk is actually a machine. That machine mimics the role of a chess player. Okay, some hundreds of years back itself, they made a machine. The machine automated the role of a chess player. But later they found that that was not a machine. There was a human sitting inside the machine. Okay, you can just see it. Okay. So all these evidences that narrates the interest of human beings for creation of machines. Okay, so that's how it has been funneled and then came into this form of computers. So nearly in the 1940s, the early 1940s, people started developing machines that can do fundamental operations, some mathematical operations. So 1940s to 1945 to some 1959 or 1960, the first generation of computers, they were there. Okay, so the first generation of computers, they mainly used heavily relied on electronics. Okay, so உங்க வீட்டில் இந்த பழைய ரேடியோலாம் சப்போஸ் இப்போ இருக்க வாய்ப்பு கிடையாது. ரொம்ப ரொம்ப பழைய காலத்து ரேடியோ பார்த்துருக்கீங்களா? உங்க வீட்டில் இருக்க ரேடியோ எவ்வளோ பெருசு இருக்கும்? எவ்வளோ பெரிய ரேடியோ பார்த்துருக்கீங்களா? மை கிராண்ட் ஃபாதர்ஸ் ஹோம் இட் வாஸ் தேர். இந்த அளவுக்கு இருக்கும் ரேடியோ. ரேடியோ திறந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா உள்ள நிறைய சின்ன சின்ன பல்ப்ஸ்மா இருக்கும். வேக்கம் டியூப்ஸ் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. They fundamentally relied on that particular component, vacuum tubes அப்படின்ற டெக்னாலஜியை பேஸ் பண்ணியிருந்தது. Okay, so using on-off circuit, So you know, come across digital circuits in physics, right? +2, 6 IC circuit and logic gates or experiment பார்த்திருக்கீங்க இல்லையா? AND gate, OR gate. அதுதான் கம்ப்யூட்டருடைய ஃபண்டமெண்டலே. கம்ப்யூட்டர் சயின்ஸ் இருக்கு இல்லையா? கம்ப்யூட்டர்ஸ் அதோடைய ஃபண்டமெண்டலே அதுதான் கம்ப்யூட்டரோட ஆரம்பமே. ஸோ இந்த AND OR NOT கேட்டை யூஸ் பண்ணி தான் அடிஷன் சப்ராக்ஷன் எல்லா ஆபரேஷனும் நடக்குது ஃபண்டமெண்டலா. So 1950s they used this vacuum tubes to generate the on and off signals. So using that they constructed circuits, AND gate, OR gate construct பண்ணி they performed addition, subtraction அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாமே பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சாங்க. பட் ரொம்பவே இன்ஃப்ராஸ்ட்ரக்சர் அந்த கம்ப்யூட்டரோட சைஸ் ரொம்ப ஹியூஜா இருந்தது. It's unmanageable. So earlier they had this computer named UNIVAC and ENIAC. They primarily concentrated on only some set of mathematical operations. So vacuum tube பாத்தீங்கன்னா இந்த மாதிரி இருக்கு. ஆல்ரெடி நீங்க பார்த்திருந்தீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு பார்க்கலன்னா ஜஸ்ட் பாருங்க, பட் பார்த்திருந்தீங்கன்னா இட்ஸ் ஃபைன். So it's like a small bulb. Okay, அதுல based on the circuitல பவர் இருக்கிறத பொறுத்து தான் on off, which is zeros and ones. Okay, which is Boolean value that is very fundamental for calculations, right? So இத பேஸ் பண்ணி தான் என்ன பண்ணாங்க, ஆபரேஷன்ஸ் எல்லாமே பண்ணாங்க. So typically இந்த மாதிரி இருந்தது இந்த டைம்ல இந்த கம்ப்யூட்டர்ஸ் எல்லாம். Okay, it's unmanageable. So மேல பாத்தீங்கன்னா அந்த வெண்ட் உங்களால பார்க்க முடியும். ப்ரொஜெக்ட்ல கிளியரா இருக்காது. நீங்க ஒரு பிக்சர் எடுத்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா இன்டர்நெட்ல சர்ச் பண்ணி பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஏர் வெண்ட் இருக்கும். இது மூலமா கூல் ஏர் பாஸ் பண்ணிட்டே இருப்பாங்க. ஏன்னா அந்த அளவுக்கு ஹீட் ஜெனரேட் ஆகும். இப்போ இருக்கக்கூடிய உங்க வீடு எல்லாமே எல்இடி பல்ப்ஸ் தான் இல்லையா? எல்இடி இந்த மாதிரி பல்ப்ஸ் தான், டியூப் லைட்ஸ் அந்த மாதிரி தான் இருக்கும். பட் பேக் இன் அவர் ஏஜ் தேர் இஸ் சம்திங் கால்ட் அஸ் இன்கேண்டசன்ட். பார்த்திருக்கீங்களா? மஞ்சள் கலர்ல இருக்கும். அது ஒரு ரூம்ல எரிஞ்சாலே இந்த ரூம் அவ்வளவு ஹீட்டா இருக்கும். அந்த மாதிரி 1000 பல்ப் இமேஜின் பண்ணி பாருங்க ஒரு ரூம்ல இருந்து எப்படி இருக்கணும், எவ்வளவு ஹீட் ஜெனரேட் ஆகும்னு சொல்லிட்டு. ஸோ அதனாலயே இந்த கம்ப்யூட்டர்ஸ் வந்து ஃபெயில் ஆகும் அடிக்கடி. ஏன்னா பேசிக்கலி இது ரிலேட் ஆன் வேக்கம் டியூப்ஸ். அந்த வேக்கம் டியூப்ஸ் ஃபெயில் ஆயிடுச்சுனாலே சர்க்யூட் வில் ஃபெயில். ஓகே, சர்க்யூட் ஃபெயில் ஆக ஆரம்பிச்சிடும். they can't do anything. ஸோ அது ஒரு மேஜர் ஃபெயிலியரா இருந்தது. ஸோ செகண்ட் ஜெனரேஷன் ஆஃப் கம்ப்யூட்டர்ஸ்ல எலக்ட்ரானிக்ஸ் ஃபீல்டுடைய எவல்யூஷன் வந்து அதிகமாக இருந்தது. ஸோ தே ஜஸ்ட் replaced this vacuum tube with something called as transistors. So transistors is ரொம்ப சின்னதான ஒரு electronic components. So அதுல electricity pass பண்ணும்போது on and off circuit வந்துட்டு base and emitter. நீங்க அந்த PNP junctionல படிச்சிருப்பீங்க. இதெல்லாமே வந்துட்டு மேபி இல்ல இன்டர்நெட்ல எடுத்து பாருங்க டிரான்சிஸ்டருடைய ஃபங்க்ஷனாலிட்டி எப்படி இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு. ஸோ டிரான்சிஸ்டர் மூலமாகவும் ஸ்விட்சிங் ஆன் அண்ட் ஆஃப் அப்படின்றத கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சாங்க. ஸோ அந்த டிரான்சிஸ்டர்ஸ் மூலமாக what they did now, they just constructed these logical gates. So once you're able to construct a logical gate, then performing calculation becomes easy. Okay, so they just implemented the technology of transistors. And the first generation of computers, the instruction to the computers were mainly in terms of zeros and ones. Okay, by on and off only you can indicate something. Okay, to on and off you can indicate the values. Value 0 அப்படினா yes, there's no circuit, right? There's no electron flow to the circuit, so it will be off. 1 அப்படினா there will be electron flow, that will be on. So இந்த மாதிரி கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சாங்க. But so for providing those inputs, all the values they have to be converted into zeros and ones. So these zeros and ones has to be fed as electrical signals. So ரொம்ப complicated. So in second generation of computers, they introduced some symbolic forms. Okay, they introduced symbolic notations to indicate inputs. Okay, to indicate the operations and all. Okay, so COBOL, Fortran, so second generation languages they were introduced at that time. So they had some symbolic means to convey the information to the computer. Okay, so IBM 1620, UNIVAC 1108, these models you can search in the internet and see. They used to be second generation of computers. So this is just a simple picture of this transistor, base, collector, and emitter. So by passing the electricity through the base, emitter, and the collector, the signals could be controlled. So that idea formulated the base for the second generation of computers. Okay. So somewhat you see, right? the size of the computer were somewhat reduced in the second generation. The third generation, again, they used the semiconductor technology more. So ICs, integrated circuits, they were developed. So thousands of transistors, they were able to put it in a single place, in a single chip. Okay. So in this generation of computers, many of the other devices like keyboard, monitors, even operating systems were introduced. Okay. So some 1970s, at the time of 1970s, this third generation computers were blooming. So IBM had their own operating system also at the time to control this third generation computers. Okay, a simple IC, a simple integrated circuit. So inside this, you can see some thousands of transistors fabricated. Okay. Just a small picture about third generation computers. And fourth generation computers. So when the electronic, the technology, the electronic domain, they get more and more improvised. Similarly, the computer evolution also took place because computer predominantly rely on electronics. So electronics in the advanced level, and the computer வளர்ச்சி அந்த அளவுக்கு இருக்கு சரியா சோ அதுதான் ஒரு பெரிய ஒரு ஸ்ட்ரெngthா இருந்தது இந்த டைம்ல வந்துட்டு so we talk about software we talk about everything but that software runs on where hardware right suitable hardware இருந்தா தான் நம்ம நினைச்ச விஷயத்தை பண்ண முடியும் right so this VLSI very large scale integration they allowed thousands and thousands of transistors to be placed on a single chip ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு மெகா அளவு சிப்ல வந்துட்டு நிறைய டிரான்சிஸ்டர்ஸா வந்து அதனால ஃபேப்ரிகேட் பண்ண முடிஞ்சது இந்த பர்టిక్యులர் டைம் பீரியட்ல வந்துட்டு ஓகே so this soon kick-started the development of microprocessor and this microprocessor is very fundamental for any modern computer systems okay so this microprocessor they embedded many computer components like CPU memory right so this microprocessor you can find in many nowadays processor and 80s also this was introduced Intel machines 8086 you can see this introduced so languages like C 1972 C was introduced later many languages like C++ DBase etc they started to evolve because we had a very stronger hardware foundation for computer programming so these sort of high level languages are also introduced at the time period so a microprocessor view. So how many transistors do you think will be there in this microprocessor? You saw the picture of transistor, right? Yes. It's second generation computer. How many transistors will be there in this microprocessor? How many? How many? Okay, you have something might have in your mind, okay? The fifth generation computers, they used ultra large scale integration. So even more number of transistors. Computer fundamentally in the transistor. And the on and off, the control we need a component. So the component connect பண்ணி we can form circuit. Okay? So எந்த அளவுக்கு அந்த காம்போனன்ட் நம்ம கிட்ட அதிகமா இருக்கோ அந்த அளவுக்கு நம்ம என்ன பண்ண முடியும் நம்மளால ஒரு காம்ப்ளெக்ஸான சர்க்யூட்டை கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ட் பண்ணவும் முடியும் okay so this ultra large scale integration they help us to fabricate more number of transistors right so millions and billions of transistors nowadays billions of transistors we can fabricate in a single microchip right and this reduced the size of the computers so I just show you what's the size of the first generation of computers and now you can see the size of our computer, right? Now you have your own handheld computers, right? So a smartphone is having how much GB of RAM? Yes, how much GB of RAM your smartphone is having nowadays? 4 GB? I think minimum you people will be having some 4 GB of memory, right? Some part of time in my college days, we usually had the maximum capacity is 4 GB. அதிகபட்சமா ஒருத்தட்ட ஹை எண்ட் மிஷின்ல இருக்கிற RAM capacity 4 GB தான் okay So you see evolution. So this Intel 8086, I think this was introduced in 1978. Core i7, in 2009 and the time அப்பவே ஆரம்பிச்சிருச்சு. ரெண்டுல comparison பாருங்க, especially the transistor. The rest of the things are relevant. So transistor உடைய size பாருங்க. 1978ல இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு ஷிப்ல இருக்கக்கூடிய டிரான்சிஸ்டர், மைக்ரோ ப்ராசஸர்ல இருக்கக்கூடிய டிரான்சிஸ்டரும் இப்ப இருக்கக்கூடிய டிரான்சிஸ்டர்லயும் இருக்கக்கூடிய இப்ப இருக்கக்கூடிய மைக்ரோ ப்ராசஸர் அதுல இருக்கக்கூடிய டிரான்சிஸ்டருடைய நம்பர்ஸையும் பாரு. ஸோ அதனாலதான் அந்த அளவுக்கு உங்களால காம்படிஷன்ஸ் பண்ண முடியும். எஸ் சார், ரியலிஸ்டிக்கா ஒரு வீடியோ பிளே பண்ண முடியுது இல்லையா கிராபிக்ஸ் மூலமா உங்களால? யா, பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் திஸ் transistors. Okay, that powers the transistor powers up the entire system. Okay, next is characteristics of computers. So all these are some histories. Okay, so history often makes you sleep. Okay, when upon நீங்க தான் kick start பண்ணீங்க, the first unit கொஞ்சம் அப்படிதான் இருக்கும். second unit programming வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் சரியா நீங்க யோசிக்க டைம் இருக்கு. Okay, so speed, storage capacity, accuracy, reliability and versatility, these are the basic characteristics of computer. Apart from that, there are so many other characteristics. So speed, we know what is the characteristics, right? So computation, it takes very fraction of the time to happen, right? And storage capacity, so we have gigabytes of storage right nowadays. We have cloud storage, right? So it is even scalable. So today you can have a 2 GB of RAM, tomorrow you can increase it to 4 GB of RAM, right? So today you have some 80 GB of SSD. After tomorrow, I can increase it to 160 amount of GB of SSD, right? So the memory, everything is adaptable in your system. And accuracy. So what are the computation that is happening? It is accurate, right? So whatever it is supposed to return, that will be returned, right? And reliability. The answer that it is providing, you don't have to cross check with the other, right? Yes or no? So if you're asking your friend to do a calculation, will you trust him? Sure. You're asking your friend to cross check something. Yes sir. உங்க ரிசல்ட் பாஸ்வாங்கன்னு சொல்றீங்க, 4 அரியர்னு சொல்றேன், என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க? ஓ அப்படியா, பரவாயில்லைன்னு வந்துருவீங்களா? நானும் ஒரு தடவை பாக்குறேன். So the computer is returning some answer to you. What will you do? Will you do a cross check? Yeah. Much of the time you don't do cross check. Programmable computers, you don't do cross check, right? Something is programmed, won't do a cross check. But if it is AI enabled, artificial intelligence enabled, you do it. You do a cross check. Cross check. Few months back, I just had a very severe cold. Hospital போயிருந்தேன். கோல்டு அதிகமாக செஸ்ட் எக்ஸ்ரே சொன்னேன். செஸ்ட் எக்ஸ்ரே எடுத்து நான் எக்ஸ்ரே ரிப்போர்ட் பார்த்தேன், கொடுத்தாரு. பார்த்தேன் லங்ஸ் இருக்கு இல்லையா, இந்த லங்ஸ்ல ஒரு பெரிய வாட்டர் இருக்கு. பார்த்தேன் எனக்கு பயந்துச்சு, நம்ம லங்ஸ் இவ்வளவு பெரிய வாட்டர் எக்ஸ்ரே வருது அப்படின்னு. இப்போ எல்லாமே கம்ப்யூட்டர் ஹேண்டில் பண்ணது இல்லை. இப்போ கம்ப்யூட்டர் ரிசல்ட் நம்ம இந்த லங்ஸ்ல ஒரு வாட்டர் இருக்கு, உடனே அட்மிட் ஆகுது, ஆப்ரேஷன் பண்ணி எதாவது பண்ணும். அந்த இடத்துல ஒரு ரிமோட் பீயிங் இருக்காரு. விஷயத்துல வரக்கூடிய அசஸ் பண்றது ரிமோட் பீயிங் இருக்காரு. பாயிண்ட் இருக்குன்னு பாருங்க, பாக்கெட்ல ஏதாவது பாயிண்ட் இருக்கான்னு பாருங்க. இப்போ பார்க்கும்போது லட்சம் பாயிண்ட் இருக்கு. இப்போ எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் என்ன ஆகுது, பிளாங்க்ல தான் இருக்கும். Programmable computers சொன்ன வேலையை செய்யும். பட் AI enabled computers யோசிச்சு அதுக்கு என்ன தோணுதோ அதை செய்யும். அப்ப அதை நம்ப மாட்டோம். But computers, the computers that we are talking about now, they are programmed. சொன்ன வேலையை செய்யும், அவ்வளவுதான். So we can rely on the results. Okay? And versatility. What do you mean versatility? A wide range of functionality. Can do a wide range of functionality. Nowadays, your system is doing what kind of functionality? For what you're getting a laptop, what you're saying to your parent in getting a laptop. Parents என்ன சொல்லி லேப்டாப் வாங்குறீங்க காலேஜ் வந்து? பேரண்ட்ஸ் என்ன சொல்லி லேப்டாப் வாங்குறீங்க? படிக்கணும், ப்ராஜெக்ட் பண்ணணும். என்ன பண்றீங்க நீங்க? படிக்கிறது மட்டும் யூஸ் பண்றீங்களா? Call of Duty அதெல்லாம் போறது இல்லையா? So a computer can do wide varieties of tasks, any kinds of functionality. It can help you to study, it can help you to run an application, pay music, okay, help you to play game, so many things, right? So that kind of characteristics also a computer has. Okay, so we'll hold on here. What's your break time? 310 or 320? 310. Okay, come back by 320. Okay. 320, everyone should be there in the class. Understand?
என்ன விஷயம்? அப்படியே கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கா 6th ஒரு 7th ரெண்டு ஒரு கிளாஸ் பண்ணுவோம். டெய்லி கூட வேண்டியா? ஏன்? ஹலோ, நீ என்ன சொல்ற? ஹலோ ராஜா, ஹலோ. ஏய் இல்லடா, ஏதோ காமன் சர்வீஸ் வந்து வாங்கிக்கலாம் சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தா. இல்லடா, காலையில லேப்ல இருக்குல்லடா. ஏன்டா எனக்கு ஒரு விஷயம் சொன்னா நானே பண்ணிடணும்னு இருக்கடா. சுச்சுவேஷன் புடிச்சிட்டு மத்த ஏதாவது பண்ணலாம் இல்லடா. காலையில் சொன்ன காலையில் சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கிறடி.